What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on this channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing the Stanley Cup final preview between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. Videos like these take a lot of time and effort to make, so if you enjoyed them, please be sure to hit that like button and sub with noties on. It's your best way to show your support, and with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so starting the video off, I wanted to do my Conn Smythe predictions going into the series. So far, my top 6 Conn Smythe rankings include Nikita Kucherov in first, due to the fact that he leads the NHL in playoff points. Carey Price in second, because he's been a great leader for Montreal and leads the NHL in playoff wins. Brayden Point in third, because he leads the NHL in playoff goals. Andrei Vasilevsky, because he leads the NHL in playoff shutouts. Alex Killorn, because he's been a real standout for the Lightning. And if they do a similar format to the NBA where they choose an off-the-board guy, similar to how the NBA gave Andre Iguodala the 2015 Finals MVP, then I wouldn't be surprised to see Alex Killorn get the Conn Smythe. And then finally in sixth, Cole Caulfield, as he has by a mile been the best rookie this playoffs, as he leads the NHL in playoff rookie goals and assists. Because the series will be so tight, it'll be crucially important for each team for their X factors to show up. And here are my X factors for each team. For the Montreal Canadiens, I would say their X factor has got to be Brendan Gallagher, because Brendan Gallagher has had a super cold start to the playoffs. As you can see on the statistics below, in only 17 games, he has only 2 goals, 3 assists, a 0 plus minus, only 1 power play point, which is super weak. He's usually a great leader for Montreal. He's usually a guy that's great at crowding the crease. So having a guy like Gallagher having a weak start to the playoffs, and if this continues for the Montreal Canadiens, I would say that Tampa Bay has a great shot at winning the finals. And then, of course, I would say for the Tampa Bay Lightning, their X factor has got to be Nikita Kucherov. He had an injury. He was so lucky he played Game 7. He'll likely be playing through an injury in the Stanley Cup Finals. He's probably been the best player in the playoffs. So I think that having a player like Nikita Kucherov playing weak and playing through an injury might be tough for the Tampa Bay Lightning to pull through. And especially the fact that he'll have Philip Deneau constantly on him and defending him will just make it so much more important that he can pull through all the injuries and everything and put up a good series. One thing the Lightning have basically been the kings of the playoff for is their outstanding offense. And you might be able to tell from the top 5 in the NHL for playoff points so far this year. As you can tell from this image I've designed, the top 5 playoff point leaders are all Tampa Bay Lightning except for William Karlsson of the Vegas Golden Knights, who's tied for 5th with Victor Hedman. So as you can see, Nikita Kucherov leading in playoff points by 7 points. That's a very big margin to Brayden Point with 20. Alex Killorn having a very good start to the playoffs with 17 points. If he can continue that, as I said, he could be in the Conn Smythe conversation. Of course, Steven Stamkos is a super important piece for them against the Habs, as he won't be playing. He won't have Philip Deneau defending him, so he'll have the Lightning will have to rely on him to put up a lot of points in that entire line in general. And then Victor Hedman putting up so many assists. I have him in my fantasy league. He's been notorious for me in the past, and his assists are just great for the team. And then the only non-Tampa Bay player is William Karlsson with 16 points, and they're not even in it. So, as you can see, Tampa definitely has their offense. Their offense is definitely better than the Montreal Canadiens, but the Montreal defense has been able to lock up top lines like the Matthews line, the Wheeler line, all those lines throughout the playoffs. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Deneau can help shut out some of the Tampa Bay first line. Another big factor in the playoffs, as you can tell, is the goalie matchup. And these two goalies are arguably the top 2 goalies in the league. Of course, as you can see, Carey Price, and Andrei Vasilevsky. And if you look at their statistics, they are so similar. 12 wins for each, only 5 losses for Price, 6 for Vasilevsky. Their goals against average is basically identical, same with their save percentage. Vasilevsky just has a couple more shutouts. I think they are very similar goaltenders. I could see Price putting up a better game just because he has more experience and he's a lot more calm. If you've watched some of the Habs playoff games, he's been so composed, and that's a huge factor for Montreal, and he's just been a great job at shutting out other offensive lines, so that's so huge for their team. So because the series will be so close, it is so important that each of their teams play their keys to success, and here are the ones I made for each of their teams. So for the Bolts, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, my biggest factor, I've already talked about it, they need production from the Stamkos line. As I said, the Habs lockdown line with Philip Deneau on it will be locking down the Kucherov point line, so it is so important that Stamkos and Cirelli and those guys on the Stamkos line have to be putting up production, have to be putting up points, because if you're relying on the first line to put up your points like they have this entire playoffs, they just simply won't win, to be honest. That's what the Leafs did with Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner. Didn't work. That's what the Wheeler line did, the first line. Didn't work. They got swept. That's what Vegas did. They lost. So it's so important that Tampa has to get production from their second line, or else they just simply won't beat the Montreal Canadiens. The second one, crowd the crease. Make Carey Price panic. He's so composed. Their defense, such as Joel Edmondson and Ben Sherratt, have been so good at protecting Price and shoving guys out of the way and making sure that Price has a very, very good line of sight to save shots, but they need to have guys in there crowding the crease for Carey Price, or else he'll just be shutting out the teams like all the other teams he's shut out so far this playoffs, and that just simply won't work for the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are trying to repeat. And then finally, stay patient on D. We saw the Leafs trying to be heroes on D, trying to play way too offensive for defense, and then it ended up with crazy rushes. It ended up with the young guys on the Montreal Canadiens doing crazy offensive plays like Caulfield and Suzuki. And I just think the biggest thing is stay patient on the young guys. They are young. They don't have much experience. So as long as you can keep them quiet and shut them out, then you'll be good. And then the biggest thing for the Montreal Canadiens is lock down the Bolt Stars. And this one, I'd say this has got to be the easiest one for the Montreal Canadiens to do. Of course, I'm giving Philip Deneau so much credit in this video, but he's really one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. Of course, in the conversation for the Selke all of the time. I think he'll be certainly good at locking down the first line, but at the end of the day, it's a team game. You have to lock down the Stamkos line. That is such a strong line, and they can put up a lot of points on the board. So they'll need consistent defense throughout all 4 lines, or else Tampa will do a lot of damage. The second one for Montreal, play an aggressive special teams. You've seen the special teams constantly fail. If you watch the Leafs series, their special teams, even though they beat the Leafs, was atrocious. The Leafs always had a better special teams, and so they have to get things going. They have to get Caulfield playing. Caulfield's such a good playmaker, and it obviously has a stud shot. They need to have guys like that who are willing to put up great shots and crowd the crease on Vasilevsky for him to panic, and that'll be great for Montreal. The third one, embrace being the underdog. They've done this so well in the playoffs. They've had this nothing to lose mentality throughout the playoffs, and it's really, really helped them. Of course, they'll be embracing that role again this series, as the Tampa Bay Lightning are heavy favorites. They've got the Stars advantage. The Lightning, like 4th or 5th best player, could probably go to Montreal and be their best player. That's how much Montreal's lacking stars, but they're just so consistent, and if they embrace being the underdog and outwork the Tampa Bay Lightning, it'll be great for Montreal. And then finally, dictate the pace. We saw through the first 4 games of the Leafs-Habs series, the Leafs were dictating the pace, which is why it went to a 3-1 lead. And then they found their groove. They started finding their defense again. They were calm and cool and collected on the offensive end, and it allowed them to keep the pace going, play the game they want to, and at the end of the day, it worked. So here is my grand final prediction. As you can see at the bottom, the Lightning will win the series 4-2 in my eyes. I'll go through it game for game. I'd say in game 1, the Lightning have this one 3-1. We've seen in a couple series like the Leafs and the Vegas series that the Canadiens typically drop the first game. They kind of need a game or two to get used to the playmaking and the skill of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They haven't played the Lightning all year, which is a big advantage for the Lightning. So I think they'll easily win this one 3-1 for the Lightning. I think the game MVP will be Vasilevsky. The Lightning just played a team similar to the Montreal Canadiens in the New York Islanders. Not so many stars, but they play a hard game. So I think they'll be able to adjust just fine to the Montreal Canadiens and win game 1 3-1. In game 2, though, the Montreal Canadiens will find their groove and win 4-3 in overtime with a game winner by Nick Suzuki, tying the series up 1-1. I think after that game 1, the Montreal Canadiens will wake up like they have in every single series so far, and I just don't see a chance where they drop this one, or else they'll really be down bad, and I can't see them even winning any games of the series if they're down 2-0. Game 3 in Montreal, in the Bell Center. Montreal will be buzzing, and because of that, I have the Canadiens winning, shutting out the Lightning 2-0. Game MVP, Carey Price, shutting them out. Canadiens take the lead 2-1, and the Bell Center will erupt. This will be such a good game for them, and it'll really give them confidence for the rest of the series. However, don't underestimate the experience of the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is why in Game 4, I have the Lightning absolutely destroying the Montreal Canadiens. We've seen the Montreal Canadiens losing pretty big margins in this. We saw them lose a pretty big one to Vegas, and I could see in Game 4 them dropping a big one. I could see their being a bit overconfident after leading the series 2-1. I could see Victor Hedman really being a big piece in this game and really giving them a good push and tying the series up at 2-2. In Game 5, I could see this game a really strategic one, but also a really boring one at the same time. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning this one 1-0 against the Montreal Canadiens. Game MVP being Vasilevsky, shutting out the Montreal Canadiens. We've seen Montreal's had a very inconsistent offense. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. And I could just see the Lightning's very experienced defense just shut out the Canadiens in this one and take the big, hefty 3-2 series lead. And then in the final game, in my eyes, Game 6, I got the Tampa Bay Lightning winning this one 3-2 in overtime. Winning it, game winner Steven Stamkos. The Lightning win the series 4-2 and become back-to-back NHL Stanley Cup champions. I have one more thing to talk about, which will be my series award predictions following the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Stanley Cup. Let's see it. All right, so the team MVPs. I have Nikita Kucherov winning the team MVP for the Tampa Bay Lightning in my eyes. He's going to play through injury. I could see him. He's already had so much experience. I could see this one going to Steven Stamkos because he is the captain and he has so much talent, and I could just see him really putting up production because he doesn't have Dano on him. But I've got Kucherov for this one just because he's playing through injury, and I think he could put up a couple points despite being defended by arguably the best defensive forward in the game. And then the team MVP for the Montreal Canadiens is going to be Carey Price. He's been carrying them the entire playoffs. He's been so steady behind the net. He's just been so solid, and I could just see Carey winning this one by a long shot, just like he has in pretty much any other series this playoffs. Best rookie, I kind of just made this one up, and this one, not really much to talk about. I gave it to Ross Colton on the Lightning because he really is like the only good rookie so far for the Lightning this playoffs. And then for the Montreal Canadiens, Cole Caulfield, he'll play a very big piece for them. He's arguably been their best offensive forward this playoffs, and in this situations they need him to score, he does. So he's been very solid for them. I could see him being a really good player in the future, and I could see him being a very good player this series. For this Norris in the series, I'm going to give it to Victor Hedman of the Lightning and Jeff Petrie of the Montreal Canadiens. Victor Hedman, he's just so experienced. He's such a good offensive and defensive threat, and he's so steady. I think he'll bring a lot of help and relieve Andrei Vasilevsky's duties and just make it such an easier series for Vasilevsky, which is so good and so exactly what Tampa wants out of a defenseman like Hedman. And then for Jeff Petrie, he's just been solid offensively. He's played through injuries. I know everyone's been memeing his eyes, that they're all bloody and everything, but he's always been and always will be one of the biggest offensive defenseman threats on Montreal. And he's just, when he's playing with Caulfield and playing with the young guys, he's always so rock solid. So I could just see him getting my Norris for this series. For the Art Ross, the most points, I've got Braden Point winning this one. I feel like the one guy that Philip Deneau will try to defend is Nikita Kucherov, which will give Braden Point a bit more space. He's also just a machine with goals. I said earlier, he leads the series and he leads the entire playoffs, in fact, in goals. And I could really see him being one of the biggest pieces for Tampa if they win the Cup this series. And then for the Art Ross for the Montreal Canadiens, I give it to Tyler Toffoli. He's been both their playoff point leader and their regular season point leader. He's just so rock solid. He gives them goals when they need it. He's just a great playmaker. He's not very selfish, even though he likes getting those goals. But he's just a rock solid piece that I would be very, very comfortable having on my team. And then for the Selke, I'm going to give it to Anthony Cirelli of Tampa. Just a good, strong piece right there. He plays a good offensive and defensive game, but I could see him being a big piece to locking down some of Montreal's biggest threats. And then I don't think this one needs an introduction. For the Montreal Canadiens, I'm giving this one to Philip Deneau. Philip Deneau, he's in the conversation for the regular season Selke as well. He really locks down any star. He locked down Matthews. He locked down guys like Scheifele before he was suspended. He locked down guys like Stone. He's so consistent, and he plays such a good defensive game. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and sub with noties on. It's your best way to show your support. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all later. Peace.